Hey there, this is Dr. Marchegiani, and today's talk is going to be all about coconut oil and MCT oil and the benefits of. So coconut oil has been a fat that's been really popular over the last 5 or 10 years. It's a saturated fat. It essentially has a very stable temperature, so you can cook at it at higher temperatures and not rancidify the fat, which is great. And saturated fats are really important, especially healthy ones, for health. So what is a saturated fat? It's nothing more than carbon bonds linked together. And you can see what we have with these carbon bonds is each bond is open. So carbons can take on 4 bonds to them, and you can see all of their bonds are saturated. That's where the term saturated fat comes from. And we can easily turn this fat into a monounsaturated fat by just giving it a double bond there and then deleting these 2 hydrogens at the bottom, and now we have an olive oil, so to speak. So that's kind of how the organic chemistry factors in. So let's forget about that. That's kind of, too confusing. Let's get back to the basics here. So the majority of fats consisted in coconut oil are fats that range between 6 carbons, 8 carbons, 10 carbons, and 12. So caproic, caprylic, capric, and lauric acid. These are the fats that we're looking at here. And when we have MCT oil, the benefit of doing MCT over regular coconut oil is the fact that we get 7 to 8 times more of these C6 and C8 or C8 and C10 fats. So your typical MCT is going to be made of capric and caprylic acid, C8 and C10. So 10 carbons long or 8 carbons long, capric and caprylic. So you get about 7 to 8 times more concentration with MCT. So putting it in a coffee and making a bulletproof coffee or in some tea, there's lots of benefits of boosting your metabolism and brain function using MCT. But we can still use coconut oil and still have a lot of the benefits, especially with the lauric acid as well. So ketosis is an awesome benefit of coconut oil. So a lot of those fats, those medium chain triglycerides, C6, 8, 10, 12, get converted into ketones, whether it's acetone or whether it's beta hydroxybutyrate. These are breakdowns of fat that our body can use for fuel and energy, especially if parts of our brain have been damaged because of metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance for a while. Those types of the brain, they're not going to be able to utilize glucose for fuel. So a lot of times they can take on these ketones and light right back up. Dr. Veach over at Harvard University has been doing lots of research on ketones for a long time. There's a lot of great benefits on that. Check out Jimmy Moore's book, Keto Clarity, for more info on ketosis. Decreased cravings. The nice thing about ketones is they have a strong appetite regulation to the brain, so they tell you when you're full. It keeps a lot of the cravings down. That's one of the awesome things. When we burn fat for fuel, our body is really in an excellent state of knowing when we're hungry or when we're not. And also to talk about ketosis, I really want to make sure we know the difference between ketosis and ketoacidosis. Ketoacidosis has to do with disease pathology, whether you have a cirrhotic liver or you're type 1 diabetic. When we go into ketosis, not because of starvation, but nutritional ketosis through having adequate amounts of calories but keeping sugar low, that's actually a normal bodily function, and there's a lot of health benefits because of it. Just wanted to back up and emphasize that. So cravings and appetite. Burning fat for fuel is incredibly satiating. Also immune function. Lauric acid, the 12 carbon fat in the coconut oil, has a lot of immune boosting qualities. This is actually the primary fat that's in mother's breast milk that really helps kind of support the child's immune system and actually acts as an antibacterial. In some of my antiviral programs that I put together with patients, we use a product called monolaurin, and what monolaurin does, it's pretty cool. It actually has some awesome benefits at destroying viruses. So how viruses work are, imagine this is your small little virus here. We'll put a V next to it so you know it's a virus. And imagine the virus having this little cloak on the outside. And this cloak basically prevents the immune system, eye above, from seeing it. So if the immune system can't see it, because these viruses are like nanoparticles or nanometers big, they're very, very small compared to bacteria, if you will. So if the immune system can't see it, it can't attack. So it's sitting there like, what's going on? So the cool thing about monolaurin, we can give super high doses of this lauric acid extract, and it basically uncloaks the virus so the immune system can actually see it. And this is really cool because when the immune system can see it, it can come on and attack it and destroy it. So that's one of the really awesome benefits of using coconut oil supplementally to really knock out viruses such as Epstein-Barr or cytomegalovirus or even herpes. Lots of good benefits there. Weight loss. Study by the journal Lipid, they had two groups. The groups were tested for about 40 days. There were women over 40. One group was given soybean oil. The other group was given coconut oil, and they saw better weight loss on the coconut oil group. They also saw an improvement in LDL and HDL numbers when compared to the soybean oil. And again, soybean oil is an omega-6 monounsaturated fat that feeds pro-inflammatory pathways, where coconut oil does not feed those pro-inflammatory. They're actually more anti-inflammatory in nature by those C6 to C12 carbon fats. So weight loss benefits. Also, another group, they looked at soybean oil, or I should say long-chain fatty acids. They were indiscreet in the study. Talked about long-chain fatty acids, fats over 18 carbons long, if you will. They compared them to coconut oil, and they saw a significant benefit in the group that lost weight the most. The 60% reduction was seen in the coconut oil group, not the long-chain fatty acid group. And that study was in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. I'll put the references below the video here. Brain health, like I mentioned, a lot of people that have metabolic issues, they're not able to light up parts of the brain that can no longer use glucose for fuel. So that kind of dovetails in really nicely with the ketosis section. So if you have adrenal fatigue, you may want to be careful about relying on ketones fully, because using ketosis, typically ketosis and gluconeogenesis work together, and gluconeogenesis is cortisol dependent. I think a lot of people do really well on ketosis, except if you're doing lots of exercise or more intensive types of physical work, you may need just a little bit of carbohydrate. Everyone's a little bit different. You got people like Jimmy Moore that do phenomenal on 20 carbs a day. You got people like Ben Greenfield that will do 200 carbs a day and still be spitting out ketones. So everyone's a little bit different. You have to kind of find out what works for you, and you can test that out on a ketone meter or using your blood sugar as well. So lots of great information here. If you have adrenal or thyroid issues, this is kind of a controversial topic. I believe everyone's a little bit different. We should test and see how you respond to these types of ketosis supporting measures. So everyone's a little bit different though. I find I do pretty well on a cyclical ketogenic, kind of going very, very low carb throughout the day, a little bit more carb at night. I tend to feel better on that, but everyone's a little bit different. Again, this is Dr. Justin signing off. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks.